This little Chi-Chi is going to be staying with me for the next few days. I have a client that's elderly and she lives alone and she's looking for her next canine companion. So this is a bit of a vetting process. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to get to know his little personality, figure out what his likes and his dislikes are, and just make sure that he's a good match for my client overall. Now, I did do a little bit of pre-filtering before narrowing it down to this little guy. Some of the things that I was looking for this client in particular were, number one, kind of a lower energy level or energy level requirement as far as exercise is concerned. She is an active elderly person, however, she can't handle a dog that has a higher exercise need. So energy was important. I also wanted to find a dog that was already potty trained for her, so we'll make sure that he's completely potty trained while he's here. And then lastly, of course, I wanted to find a smaller dog for her so there's less of a likelihood of a dog being able to actually pull her over, because that would be too much of a fall risk for her. So I found a nice little small dog through the rescue network to begin with. So now that we filtered it down to this little guy, what I'm going to do over the next several days is just do a variety of different temperament type tests with him, see if he has any outward fears that I need to be aware of, any resource guarding, any food guarding, how does he do with kids, how does he do with other animals, big dogs, little dogs, birds, cats, you name it. So we've got quite a laundry list ahead of us that we're going to tackle over the next couple of weeks, but I wanted to point out a few specific things that I'll be looking for in particular to share with you so that if you're looking for your next dog or you need help during the vetting process of finding your next dog, you'll know what some of the more key and important factors are to look for to make sure you find the right fit for your family. One of the first things I like to do whenever I have any new dog with me is find out what motivates them. This is a great way to start building the relationship. So you can see this little guy here has some food motivation, but does he also respond to squeaky toys? Does he like affection, verbal praise? What is it that works for him? Because I want this to be a good bonding experience and overall positive experience for him as well. Plus, I'll be able to translate those motivators to his new owner if she decides to keep him. Another thing that I'll do without throwing them together or giving them too much interaction with one another is see how this little dog here responds to being around children. This client in particular does have grandchildren, so I want to make sure that there aren't any specific outward signs of lunging or being really afraid that would be of concern. They won't have direct interaction, but I just want to look for any very obvious signs for the most part. And so far, this little guy's doing pretty good. He's not too bothered by having a little one around, but just to be clear, these two aren't going to be interacting just because they're not going to be together long enough to do a proper introduction. It's just to look for any outward obvious signs. Oh, you think so? So along the same lines of having him around little kids, I'm also going to have him around some of my bigger dogs and a couple of other species as well. Now, he's not going to meet any of them. He won't be interacting with any of them because I'm not going to have him in my possession long enough to actually safely introduce him as a new dog to my other dogs or other dogs around me. I usually want to have at least a 2-week period to do that safely to set them up for success later on down the road. So he will be around the other dogs, but he won't be introduced to them face to face. And it's really, again, just looking for any outward, obvious signs of concerns. Any barking, any lunging, any growling, any signs of any severe anxiety that I need to be aware of to work with him and or help with my decision as to whether he's the right fit for this particular client. To give you an idea, Blue Ivy is out here in the yard with us, but she's been in her place in a downstay the entire time that we're out here with this little guy. It's great for both dogs as I get to see if there's any outward concern from this little Chi-Chi, but also it helps work Blue Ivy's brain because she's being asked to be in an extended place. So always good a little bit to work the brain of the dog that's in the household at the same time while trying to see if there's any outward concern as to how these dogs could potentially interact down the road. So just a couple of other things that I'm looking for that are specific to this client in general. Again, she lives alone, so she's looking for a snuggly, cuddly dog. So because he's brand new to me and I'm a stranger, I don't want to be all up in his face and all up in his business, but I'll slowly get to know him over the next couple of days and find maybe where his favorite spot is, where he likes to be pet. Maybe there's ways he doesn't like to be pet, so that's really good information for me to have to transfer to his potential new owner. The other thing too is I'm going to take a look at some of his likes, some of his dislikes. How does he walk on a leash? Just any information that I can gather that can help her make the best decision based on the personality that she's looking for. Good boy. That's a good boy. He's a good follow. He's very affectionate, so I know that affection is a motivator already. Good boy. He's a good boy. Come here. Come on. So right now I'm just trying this little guy out on leash to see how he does walking alongside of me. Some of the things I'm looking for just to see if he runs underfoot, if he could be a potential fall risk for her. You know, he's not getting under my feet. He's actually walking pretty well on this leash with me. Good boy, that's a good boy. Hi, he has a collar and a harness on, but he's not a puller, so I'm totally fine using the harness because he walks really well on it. Like anytime I give him a little bit of communication, he follows. Good boy. So I think this is a perfectly acceptable case to use a harness because he's not a puller. Good boy. But I just want to see what some of his habits are so he doesn't end up becoming a fall risk for her and tripping her up or getting under her feet. And so far, he's doing pretty good. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Good boy. Good boy. Here you go. Yes, good boy. Come on. Come on. So hopefully that provided a little bit of insight to you about a couple of the things that I'm looking for when I'm vetting a dog for someone. You know, picking your next best friend is an important and big decision, and you want to make sure you're making the right one. You could have this little dog for the next 10 to 15 years. So spontaneous adoptions, I always dissuade people from because that could potentially lead to a mismatch and behavioral issues for the dog down the road. So vetting processes like this are really, really important. Make sure that their personality is the right fit for your lifestyle and for your environment for the betterment of your family and the new dog that you're looking to adopt. If you like this kind of video, please let me know by hitting that like button, and you can hit the subscribe and the bell notification to receive more content just like it. Thanks so much for watching.